Hey class, this is Young here. I'm the instructor for database system development, and today I have Mr. Jimmy Lee here with me, who was their data analytic manager back on their business org at Home Depot. But before joining Home Depot, he worked for Hewlett Packard for a couple of years, moved on to Home Depot, become the data analytic manager within 6 months. And in the course of his management, he has already promoted two managers within his team. So he has the full credential, and he know exactly he's gonna share some experience with database and how he uses database in his day-to-day tasks. So thanks Jimmy for being here. I just want to very quickly ask you as a before you become a data analytic manager, you joined Home Depot as a data analyst. How did you use SQL during your time as a data analyst?
I use SQL to actually just be able to pull various data sources to join them together to get like one unique information. What happens is you understand is like tables in real world, like they maintain data integrity because like these are managed by business groups who are very specialized, right? And so they know how to take care of their data. So when you pull data, right, from these different business groups, you basically perform like a one unified view. It gives you an end-to-end flow, right? For my purposes, I'll give you an example. Is like for how inventory flows within the supply chain. Inventory is like product. Imagine like you bought like a Homer bucket from Home Depot, right? So you're trying to tell me I might pull data to actually understand like, oh man, how often is this Homer bucket actually shipped?
Okay.
You know, like how much money does it take from point A to point B, and I need to be able to pull that data. I have to pull transportation data.
Okay, so you use your SQL skill to pretty much make an insight into what the data is trying to tell you in order to predict what the company should do next, right?
Yeah, but I have to join like transportation data. I have to join finance data, right?
Okay.
And the beauty of it is like I don't know finance.
Right.
Right? But I know what I want to know about finance very minutely.
Okay.
But I know it's transportation because that's my space. And I have the people ramp up on it, and that helps me connect the data and the information together, right?
Okay.
And when I connect this data together, it's not just me viewing it because like it's gonna be like my directors and above, my senior leadership that's viewing it because they need to have one single vision and platform to actually see the data.
Okay, so I know you work on the business, and at Home Depot, you know how we have business org and IT org. Right, since the business also using a lot of SQL and database technology, for all your tables, did you have to build them yourself, or did you have the IT team building them out for you?
The IT team actually builds them out for you. The business typically does not try to maintain their own data that way because number one is you think about it, business don't have access towards any kind of hardware on that side, so we can't scale as easy. Imagine like a database in a primitive structure for us, it would be an Excel sheet, right? At best.
Okay.
Once you hit beyond the 2 million records, which is easy considering all the products on Home Depot and how it flows, and you magnify the 2 million records times, let's say like by the stores, and then ties it by the transactions.
Okay.
It's too large to be kept in an Excel sheet. You need an actual server database to actually go and house that information in.
Right.
So that's when we actually partner up with our IT partner and say, hey, we need this data. This is important to us as a company, so please build it out for us.
So there's a storage size limit on the Excel and the Microsoft Access database that the business would generally uses. And I think the limit is 2 gigabytes, if I remember correctly.
As far as the Access database?
Okay.
For Excel, it's going to be smaller than that, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good to know. So over on in the class right now, they learning about entity relational modeling. So they still in the modeling technique like designing tables, so and how they relate to each other using cardinalities. The class haven't learned anything about SQL yet, but as possible careers that they could pursue from this class, they could either be a professional database developer or DBA, which require them to know ER diagram technique as well as being able to create tables. But if they want to pursue career as like data analytics or data management person, they would need to know about the ETL process or queries. As a data analyst, what is the number one technical thing in regard to database that they should know?
I would actually say you should know the relationship.
Okay.
Right? Because the idea is like relationship in the real world, when you create that ER diagrams, will make more sense. You have to actually back away from the technical piece first and think about how relationships just work in general, right? Like, for example, when I want to know about product, where are some attributes that are normally just already attached to it when I want to know about the product? Like, I want to know about, about what class it's in, what other products, how does it relate to other products on that side, and should that be all attached to one product, right? And then I probably want to know about categories of that product.
Okay.
Right? I want to know how that product flows. There might be a separate table on that side, right? Being able to draw and map out your business relationship and how that works as like kind of like an ER diagram, but not really thinking. Don't focus on the data types first. Don't focus on the data types first. That's not the important part, because like later on you'll find out more effective ways to join the data. The most important thing is drawing out the relationships and mapping out on the side to make sure that it actually reflects the business that you're doing, process that you're doing. Because the idea is like, remember, databases are a tool for us to use, right?
Absolutely.
Right? So the more important thing is like you're trying to solve the problem, what you're trying to get, right? So it's mapping out that business and that relationship. If you don't do that, and you don't get your stakeholders to buy into like how your relationships are being mapped, right? Then what happens is like you'll get like unintuitive users come in, right? And they'll join the data in ineffective ways, right? And then when you build your data tables, it'll be ineffective too, because like you'll get slower joins for pulling their information. It won't be as optimal.
Right. So it's important to know all the relationship. One of the reason why it's important, because first you gotta be the master of your domain, right? Becoming the subject matter expert. So you gotta know how different org or different department within an org work together.
Process. You want to know process.
And it's also help to improve the performance, because you can then normalize your table in such a way that it will increase their performance on any select query or insertion queries. But then
there's key master data that you have, right?
Right.
So like if you master your domain, you know key master data.
Absolutely.
The reason why you want to know the process is that will tell you how to split the master data up to do the joins on that side. So that's like one way to approach it.
Okay. So beside knowing how everything relates to each other, when you write a SQL, you generate the reports. What kind of SQL do you write the most? Like we know in that union, it has left join, right join, outer joins. You don't just write standard SQL query where you just do select all from a certain table, right? But in order to generate a centralized view, you have to pull them from different data sources and aggregate the view into just one view with all information.
So I think like your bread and butter for like the basics and fundamentals is learn how to do joins.
So you got
joins are very important,
right?
And you want to learn how to do them effectively.
Okay.
Right. You want to, because that will determine on how the speed of things work, and you want to know your joins really well, because that's the one that creates duplicates within your data as well.
Okay.
Too, right. So joins are going to be first. The second thing that you probably want to learn is how to eventually do rollups, like your group bys on that side. So that's the second thing, right? And then as you get more advanced, you want to learn how to do partitioning of your data set.
Right.
That's when you start to enter a slightly more advanced level. Like instead of just doing a sum with a group by, right? Learning how to do a cumulative sum by certain group bys on that side with ordered variances, right? This when you get to the partition, it just allows you to have such a crazy amount of control over how you want to manipulate your data while maintaining its data integrity the way that you want it to be.
Okay. Alright. Hold on. Alright. So they definitely gotta know the joy. Joy is like the bread and butter of any SQL development, right? And then you gotta know the relationship. Okay. Now, what about? Cause now you have like Oracle, you have Microsoft SQL Server, you have a lot of different database vendor. Does it matter which one they starting to learn a database from it, or is it like you can learn from a specific, you can choose any vendor and that knowledge will still transfer to another vendor just fine?
I would say yes, because like you can choose any kind of vendor. SQL stands for standardized query language anyways, so it's mostly universal. There are some databases that have special function calls or maybe special syntax on that side to take care of things like spaces and column names or how do you deal with like certain data types that makes it more effective, right? That's not the important part. Like the important part is like really the SQL, right? it's going to be mostly the same because you're still trying to connect some sort of master data towards a process,
Okay.
right, on that side. So that doesn't really change much. Even if you jump around, the change isn't as giant of a jump like if you during a coding language.
Okay.
Like if you jump from C to Java, that's a very different world.
Right.
That's a very different jump.
Yep.
But when you're jumping from like Microsoft SQL, right, to I don't know, like Google
Oracle.
BigQuery,
Okay, yeah.
or Oracle SQL, right? Then it's not that huge of a jump. Literally, sometimes all you do is literally
Just the syntax different,
syntax is slightly different. Like the limit buys might
Right.
be different, right?
Yeah.
That's usually one thing that's usually super different about them. The spaces within column names are usually another factor. And that's it. There's not too much of a change. It's almost like same house, but the furniture might be shifted a little bit.
Okay. Very, very valuable. Now, let me ask you some interview questions. How would you interview a data analyst versus how would you interview a senior data analyst? Say if any of my students want, because they're still in school, but some of them already have a professional career, and some of them want a career switch, or some of them want a higher advancement in their career. Can you give some tips on what should they prepare to interview for as a data analyst versus as a senior data analyst? Someone that went to school strictly learn about IT, or someone that have a major change and now trying to switch over to a more technical role.
So let me break that down a little bit, right?
Okay.
So if you think that you're gonna learn SQL before you get the job, like you need to know SQL before the job that you're getting is most likely going to be business intelligence, BI, right?
Yep.
Because for them, SQL is their bread and butter to create the reports for their executive audience.
Absolutely.
Right? So you are going to be mostly creating reports all day long, right? So then you'll be asked all the SQL syntax because they want you to learn the mechanics of like how to create an optimal query. Because most of the time, the BI team, right, on the business side, actually is very integrated in maintaining their own servers and systems too.
Yeah.
Their IT partners do support them, but like they're just so deep within the weeds, it makes sense for them to have that sort of control, right?
Correct.
So I would say like if you're looking at a job and it says you need to learn SQL first, right? That's probably a reporting job.
Okay.
That's probably a reporting job, like just out of the gates right there, unless it's like some sort of development job. But it's probably a reporting job. Now, if you were doing an analytical role, right? The funny thing is, a lot of people who enter the analytical role have no idea about SQL sometimes.
Right, and we experienced that here.
Yeah. So like, what happens is like it's more important to have the domain knowledge and the process understanding of your domain first. Like, just have that set up first.
So basically, they gotta understand the ER diagram. Basically, at least have a knowledge of how everything should be mapped out in their brain.
Yes. You can call it the ER diagram. You can call it just like a brainstorming box.
Yeah, I'm just trying to translate it to the
but you need to get the process out first, not the mechanics on that side. And then what happens is like later on you'll be questioning those entities, those relationships to see if they actually make sense or not, right? You'll be, for analytical roles, you're typically solving a problem anyways, and they'll give you a small subset of problems. No one's going to ask you. The SQL is irrelevant in that piece because like no one's going to ask you like, oh, how are you going to pull like 600 million store SKU combinations? You know, they're not going to ask you that. They're going to ask you, well, if I bought this much from this supplier, from supplier A to B, C to D, right? Which supplier should I go with? Based on the transportation costs, based on the gas costs and everything. Now, that's different. That requires some domain knowledge and mapping on that side. It requires problem solving, right? So from data analytics role, the SQL does help you, but like it will help you. You can learn that on the roll. Most people are actually pretty open towards that, learning on the roll instead. So long as you're a good problem solver. If you're a BI, you definitely need to know SQL straight in.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. Anything you want to say to the class who is currently taking database development? Like, what should they do in their free time to prepare them for the job market nowadays?
I would say like one of the bigger things to actually understand is understand what domain you want to go to on that side, right? Like it's database is a tool for us. It's a very valuable tool, but still a tool at the end of the day, right?
For sure.
So like what ends up happening is like you really have to understand the business and how to pull the data first. Understand those relationships. Once you understand your users and how that works, right? The technical flow and everything kind of falls within place.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I'll say like if you're in supply chain, learn about supply chain data, right?
Okay.
Learn about what data is valuable in supply chain. And if you don't know what data is valuable in supply chain, think about what problems are important within supply chain, right?
Okay.
Because realistically, the big corporate problems that we're solving, that's what requires SQL. If you're in a small household company, you may or may not need SQL because the data isn't large enough. But
Okay.
will it still be helpful in that area? Hell yeah. It'll still be helpful.
Damn right.
And it will help that small company scale up even further. So it's actually even best practices to start out with SQL on that side, right?
Okay.
But it's about understanding what problems you're trying to solve. What data do you need to solve that problem? What processes help connect the data together on that side? Learn those first.
Okay.
Your SQL, I feel like there's so many open sources to it, like coding and everything that we learn.
Right.
We've seen several times where people learn SQL on the job,
On the fly,
right?
yeah.
So like there's definitely gonna be no issues with that. But the first other three things is like sometimes people get caught into too much of the SQL syntax and everything, but they forget about what they're solving, what their job is for.
Right. It's pretty much remember what your entire degree is about, not just one particular class, right?
Yeah.
The class has objective that will prepare you to meet your degree objectives.
Exactly. It's like I don't know. I guess like an old way is like you don't live by the sword. The sword is a tool, right?
Yeah.
You gotta remember what war you're actually fighting for on that side, right?
Okay. Okay.
Right? So it's like you sharpen your sword as much as you want. But if you're not fighting the right battles,
you're still gonna lose, right?
You're still gonna lose at the end of the day.
Resources.
So be strategic about understanding the problems that you're trying to solve, and whether it's small from a small scale or corporate scale, right? The master data,
Okay.
and then the processes that link with it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for being here with me and showing the class or sharing with the class very, very valuable information.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it. All right.